Let's not say welcome back again, because I keep doing that in my brain. I'm like, I prepare the intro and I just keep going welcome back, and I need to come up.
You can just say "What's up, guys?"
What's up, guys? Welcome. No,
What's up?
I need to not say welcome back. Why do I do this? What's up? That's so funny. Oh, don't. Right, I'm probably cool. All good. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Production Meeting Podcast, episode 7. Today is more of a personal episode with me and Zavi, talking about films we love. But first, we will be talking about our recent watches. Zavi, what have you been watching recently?
So, hello, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. I'm glad you asked me, Jess. So, currently on the day of recording, Andor finished on the 23rd of November with its season finale. And I have to say, it was an amazing finale. It was very good. When it comes to Andor as a whole, I feel like they really did a really unique take on the Star Wars universe, and it's very, very funny because I knew that in the first episode of rebooting this podcast, and the first one I took part in, I talked about episode 6 of Andor, so it's quite cool that we've come from the halfway point to here. But yeah, I thought it was a really solid finale. I thought the acting in the show is amazing. Like there's not really any there's only maybe a couple of scenes when I would say there's only some bits were a bit overacted, but very, very, very few of them. And what I really appreciate about the show compared to some of the recent Disney Star Wars shows is that it really kept a consistent tone. And that's what I really appreciate about the show, as it was such a shame because Kenobi and the Book of Boba Fett fell very flat for me due to some of the story problems, as well as just some of the choices when it came to the tone and some of the plot points. But it felt like when it came to Andor, it was a very well constructed show, and felt like it had more care put into it. And it was really cool because the creator, Tony Gilroy, he said he wasn't really a big Star Wars fan, but it's really cool to see that he has a story that you could easily put that you don't need to have in the Star Wars universe, but he did. He put it in, he adapted it to the Star Wars lore. And I thought the cast was great, with Diego Luna reprising as well as Cassian, Stellan Skarsgård. There's one episode when he has this amazing monologue, and it's just incredible acting. And it was just a really good show because I've always been intrigued with the gritty element of Star Wars, and the era it takes place in is very much I think it's 5 years before Rogue One, and I'm a massive fan of the original trilogy anyway, so I do prefer the Imperials and Rebellion compared to the prequel era. And it was just a really well done show. The visuals as well was immaculate. They filmed a lot in practical locations. I remember there was it's crazy because it looks amazing when compared to the Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi. They were filming on I think it was called The Stage. I think that's what it was called. It was created from by Greg Fraser. And it was a shame because with those two shows, there were some shots that just looked very bland, and you could tell that it was, that it was created on a set, and it did kind of take you out of it. When with Andor, it fully embraces the location as well as the entire atmosphere, and it was really powerful because this show was my least hyped Star Wars show out of all of them, because Rogue One is my favorite film of all the new Star Wars films. But when I heard they're making a show of one of the characters in it, I was a bit, that's quite a bizarre choice. But here we are now, and I thought the payoff and just how far we've come is really it's quite ironic that the show I was least hyped for is by far the best show, especially when it came compared to Kenobi and Book of Boba Fett. Now, the only negatives I will have with the show is that there are, I wouldn't say there's pacing issues, but I can understand where some episodes can be quite slow for some people. And if you haven't watched the show yet, I'm just going to be completely blunt with you and completely honest. There are some episodes that have no action in, but they build it up really well to when they have that action in the episode. And even though there's not much action, they have some really great scenes, like with some really good monologues and some really interesting bit of Star Wars lore, as well as this isn't a Star Wars show that you will have magical cameos, just like cameos left, right, and center. But like there are some like really cool references that are more subtle. It's also a very it's more of a dark Star Wars show that, as I mentioned, it is adult for Star Wars for adults, to be completely honest with you, with some of the implications, with some of the themes, as well as they actually use some swear words and things like that. But the overall show was just very impressive, and as well as that, they are making a season 2, which I'm really looking forward to. I think it's meant to come out in the next couple of years. Where does it rank when it comes to my opinion on the Disney era of Star Wars? When it comes to Star Wars shows, I personally would say I would choose The Mandalorian over Andor, I think. The reason why I feel like I would choose The Mandalorian over Andor, not because of the cameos, like even season 1 of The Mandalorian, was because The Mandalorian felt more Star Wars-y, and it felt like it had like the tone of The Mandalorian felt more in line with the tone throughout the the prequel, well, out of the entire saga. It really fit in really well, and Andor fits in really well. It pairs up lovely with Rogue One. But I would say, just as a fan of Star Wars, The Mandalorian suits everyone. But I would also say like Andor is very like they're neck and neck, to be honest with you. They're both very good in their own regards. So I would say if you're a Star Wars fan, I would highly recommend to just give it a go. As I said, just be patient with it. But when the story does pick up at some points, and when you have some of those episodes that are slow burns, you do have payoffs from those slow burn episodes when it comes to the crescendo and the climax of some of the episodes. The payoff is really, really well done, and I would say just everything that got put into Andor creatively, and just the overall the presence of the show. I wish they applied that care and effort more into Kenobi and the Book of Boba Fett. I'm not saying no care was put into those 2 shows, but I really I would just say that I think, from my opinion, Disney hasn't handled the franchise too well with the whole sequel trilogy. They didn't have too much of a plan, with the films, which is a shame. And then with some of the shows like Kenobi and Book of Boba Fett, the structure was a bit all over the place. So it was really refreshing to have a Star Wars show that was firmly, has a consistent story line when it comes to the tone, and when it comes to just the layout and everything. I thought it was really, really well done. So I would highly recommend give it a watch. All 12 episodes are on Disney Plus. Jess, what's your opinions on Andor? I remembered, I think we did speak about that you have watched some of the episodes. I don't know if it was in one of the podcast episodes that we recorded, but if you have, please, if you have any thoughts and opinions, please say.
Well, it's one of those things, like, I started watching it because I was intrigued. I also have a lot of friends that are into that kind of thing. and Star Wars and things generally like that. And yeah, I was intrigued in Andor, and really wanted to know what it was about. Started watching it, and just I don't know what it was, but I got a bit, I don't know, bored, I guess. Like I watched it and it made me tired. Like it making me tired isn't really the right phrase, but I think you'll probably know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
it was a bit slow for my liking. I'm quite into things with a lot of action, like things with lots going on and constant. I think
Yeah.
my brain just cannot deal with lots of information being fed to me over a long period of time and then it ending in something kind of big. I guess I mean it depends on the type of slow burn that it is and how they execute that slow burn. Because some slow burns I'm like, wow, that was really clever. I really love that. As much as I hate it being slow, it's interesting. And at least you're getting more information out of it. But with this, from what I've seen so far, which isn't much, I can't remember how many episodes I've watched, because it was a while ago that I actually watched it. But I'll probably give it another go because I'm like hearing what you're saying, Zabby, is really, really interesting. And I do want to watch it at some point. It's finding the time and also the concentration to kind of, because I know I'll appreciate it. I know deep down it's something I will like eventually. I just need to get better at giving things a chance. Like I mean, a similar thing is happening with Grey's Anatomy that I'm watching at the moment. Completely different thing, completely different topic. But like, still a series, and I found that really slow, and I've given that a chance, and I'm now beginning to actually really like it and want to keep watching it. So I'm presuming that's probably how I'm going to find Andor, unless unless I don't like it, unless I don't like the stories, because I'm very specific with what I like, and yeah, I'll definitely give it a chance at some point, but it's a case of finding the time to do that really, because I've watched a lot recently and I need to give my brain a break.
Of course. But yeah, no, I completely understand everything you're saying here, Jess, because TV shows are quite intimidating to get into and to invest into. Like, for example, I've been looking at watching Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, but like episodes and seasons, they are just so long, and it can be like quite a bit big. Like, I don't know where I'm going to find the time to watch this. And with Andor, it very much has that spy espionage vibe to the film. I mean, no, it's not to the film, to the show,
Yeah.
and that's what I do like, because George Lucas did base Star Wars for children and everything like that, but it's really refreshing and very cool to see the more adults, the adult, side to Star Wars. And I've always been someone interested in the Imperials and stormtroopers and all the different types of troopers and generals and admirals, and it was just really cool to just expand upon all of these different elements. And I would say this isn't really spoiler territory, but just to give it a breakdown for you, Jess. So I know that like you have like different arcs throughout the show, like episode 1 to 3, like the third episode has action in, like they build it up. Then 3, and then from 4 and 5 they build it up. Episode 6, which again we spoke about, I spoke about, which was amazing, probably my favorite episode of the show. And then after episode 6, again they did build it up, and there is some action here and there, again, but they're all building up to that payoff, which was the finale and was really well done. And I'm just so excited for season 2, as I'm really intrigued to see where the show goes. But I completely understand all your thoughts and opinions with this, Jess, and hopefully when you have given it a go, you can hopefully expand upon some of your thoughts and your opinions on it.
Yeah, definitely. I think yeah, definitely share with everybody once I finished it what I think, because it's one of those ones that is quite interesting. Because from what I've seen so far, I'm loving the cinematography side of it. It's just the
Mm,
story. The story I just cannot, like. I'm not being gripped currently. I don't feel like I can't remember how many episodes I've seen, but I haven't yet been gripped. I think I've seen like 2 or 3 maybe
yeah,
from memory. But yeah, I've seen about 2 or 3, and it's yeah, just not quite gripped me yet. I just need to give it more of a chance, I think, to be honest.
yeah. So yeah, that was my little talk about Andor. And if you have watched Andor, please put your thoughts down in the comment section down below.
Please do.
And Jess, what have you watched recently?
I haven't actually watched that much, not as much as usual. Like I usually stay pretty up to date with everything, but I mean I'm noticing a lot of things go on to like Now TV and things like that. And the subscriptions for things like Now TV are so expensive. It's ridiculous. I don't want to be spending the money on these kinds of things. So I try and kind of stay up to date where I can with the streaming services. But I mean, the most recent thing I've watched, well, half watched for a good reason though, was My Policeman, which was directed by Michael Grandage. Is that how you say his name?
I have no clue.
Grandage. However, I'm so sorry. I'm terrible. I mean, you never know with these people if you don't
No, you
know them.
don't.
So yeah, My Policeman was starring Harry Styles, so another Harry Styles film, which is interesting. He's getting really into acting recently, I
He
felt.
is.
Quite surprising actually. But I mean he's not bad. He's not a bad actor, but
Yeah.
with this film, I feel like you could tell that he was acting, but you could also tell that other actors in it were acting. So it wasn't just him. I didn't particularly enjoy it. I liked the concept. The concept was interesting, but the way they executed it was terrible. It was released on the 21st of October. So not massively recent, but and it was yeah, I don't know. I just didn't really. It was really difficult to follow. Like it was really sweet the beginning, really sweet little story, but it was difficult to understand who was who from which time, and it showed a lot of like footage of the past kind of thing. For each character, some things that happen in the past and then things that are happening in the present. And I liked kind of the concept for each character's story, but it just wasn't executed very well, and it was really difficult to understand. And you had to have full concentration on every single character and what their kind of traits were, I guess, which made it really just hard to watch. I mean, if you're interested in like family related films and that, go give it a watch because it's an interesting one, but I wouldn't it's not one that I would recommend to everybody to watch anytime soon. Like it's just one of those films, difficult to follow, but had its like quirky little elements which were all right. But yeah, it just didn't really blow me away to be honest.
That's fair enough. Yeah, no, about Harry Styles, I mean, it is quite funny how in the last episode I spoke about him in Don't Worry, Darling, and now
Yeah.
you're talking about him in My Policeman. Yeah, that's the correct.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
Policeman. Yeah, My Policeman. Sorry, my brain fuzzed out then.
So
Yeah, no, like it's tough because Harry's been spoilers for those who don't know. I mean, it's already it's been out for a decent amount of time now. He was in the post-credit scenes for Eternals. Now he's in Don't Worry, Darling, and now he's in My Policeman. So he is. It is quite. He has been on quite a role recently. But no, I agree when it comes to his acting. It's just there's some points when you can tell he's just acting. Like I found that in Don't Worry, Darling, and everything. As I mentioned, but but no, I understand. I think they did some filming in Brighton. I think on like the Brighton Pier. I could be
Yeah,
wrong, but
yeah, I think they did. Yeah, so like I don't know. It's cool, like the locations and that where they're filming these things, and the locations look really good, and
yeah,
like the scenery is really nice in some of these scenes, and I'm liking that kind of element, the cinematography, the kind of elements of the storyline, but just the way it was executed was just bad. And I think it's kind of a similar case with Don't Worry Darling. Wasn't executed the best.
yeah. Like it was weird because like Don't Worry, Darling. Like it's even though I watched it, not too for well, yeah, not too long ago. It wasn't like a bad film, but it's just like at some points it was a little bit I would say like the thing that kind of let down was that it was quite predictable. That's what I would say. That's the only thing I found with Don't Worry. Only thing with Don't Worry, Darling. And then when it was unpredictable, it was kind of like the unpredictable that you would kind of expect when it comes to it eventually becoming predictable because of literally like, oh, okay, like halfway through the film, you know exactly what's happening.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, have you guys watched My Policeman? Again, let us know your thoughts
Yeah,
in the comments section down below.
comment down below if you like have a different opinion to us as well, because it's interesting to hear if people disagree with what we're saying and why. Because yeah, it's just interesting to know other people's thoughts on these things, because yeah, it gives us a wider knowledge of how people take in films and how people watch them. But yeah.
Precisely. And also let us know down below, what do you think of Harry Styles becoming an
Yeah.
actor or his recent performances?
Yeah, yeah, because that's just really like, I mean, he was in Dunkirk, and Dunkirk was pretty good, I have to say. But other than that, it's been a bit flat. And I think he's been in too much too soon and too quickly, if you know what I mean.
Oh,
Like,
I agree.
he's gone, I'm gonna try acting, was in Dunkirk, it was pretty good. It was like, everyone was like, oh, okay, that's a bit different. And then I guess a year or so, I don't know how long, a fairly long period of time passed, and then he was in like 3 films. It's like, whoa, what's going on? Are you a singer or are you an actor? I mean, you can be both. You can be whatever you want in life.
Of course,
But it
of
was so
course.
random. It was so random. I feel.
I agree. I mean, well, we have had many musicians, take on roles such as Lady Gaga, which is,
Mm,
it's not like we're not open to the idea because I mean, Lady Gaga. I mean, I enjoyed her in House of Gucci, so I think it
mm.
is quite well. At least recently, it's been quite popular when it comes to musicians becoming at least like more popular and more regular, to say the
Yeah,
least.
yeah, yeah, and some of them pull it off really, really well and do very well, and it's amazing to see them try something new or see them in that different light, rather than only seeing them on stage with a microphone singing or dancing or performing. It's a very different outlook on them as a person, and seeing the behind the scenes stuff is very different as well. The way they act on set is very different to how they are in on stage and things. So yeah, it's an interesting kind of topic to think about, and definitely comment your thoughts in the comments below. But yeah.
Mm, right. Now the next um the next thing that I recently watched was one specific episode from Batman the Animated Series, and that episode was Almost Got Him. So I was brought on quite late to Batman the Animated Series because my father very much just knew the Burton films and the Schumacher films, just the live action stuff. But then when I got introduced to Batman the Animated Series gradually over time, I was really intrigued and I was really hooked. And unfortunately, I would have loved to have watched some of my other favorite episodes, but Almost Got Him stands out to me because of just the concept alone is just amazing. So the plot of the episode is you have Joker, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, Killer Croc, and Penguin all at this jazz club, right? And it's very interesting because they're all playing poker together, and they're all telling their stories about how they almost got the Batman. And it was really cool because you get to see them kind of, tease each other and express, their different ways of attempting to kill Batman. And then there's this really, really cool, amazing twist, which I'm not going to spoil, but there's this amazing twist that happens in the episode, and it's just fun, phenomenal. And what I love so much just about this episode was how it's just a really cool idea to just imagine some of Batman's rogues gallery just playing poker together at a jazz club. Like, for me, that's just such a cool concept. And the way they, all explain their stories and the way it's executed as well with some of the payoffs is amazing because also at the end of the episode, it's really nice because Batman and Catwoman have a lovely moment. And I think Catwoman's about to kiss him, but I think Batman, glides off and she said almost got him. And it's just such an amazing episode. And I just love this show, and I'll be talking about it more later. And then, that leads on to this segues into a sad topic to talk about, and that is that the voice actor, very, very well known for his performance as Batman, Kevin Conroy, did pass away on the 10th of November this year. And when I saw the news, I was really sad, to say the least. It was very unexpected because he was, he wasn't that old or anything, but I believe he did unfortunately die of cancer. I think he was 66. So when I did see the news, I was deeply saddened and shocked because, as I mentioned, Kevin Conroy wasn't my first Batman that I was introduced to. But then over time, when I watched some of the more projects that he was in when it came to the animated series, some of the films, like The Killing Joke, and some of the games like the Arkham Knight game, his voice became so iconic. And for me, as I said, I was introduced to him very late. Like I'm 19, and I probably started to watch some of the show when I was around 14, 15, when I was introduced to Batman at the age of 6. So that's quite a lot, quite a big difference. And what hit me so hard about this sad news was that even though he wasn't the first Batman I was introduced to, he's the voice I hear when I read the Batman comic books, which hits so hard because it's not Val Kilmer, it's not Michael Keaton, it's not Adam West, it's not Ben Affleck, it's not Christian Bale, and it's not Robert Pattinson. It's Kevin Conroy. Like, it's so sad because it's just his voice has such a presence. And what I love so much about his Batman specifically compared to all the other Batmans was his Batman's best power in the animated film, Mask of the Phantasm, which is also one of the best Batman films ever made. And then the animated series was Batman's understanding and being, so kind, and just his humanity was what was so impactful, was that he can, talk, he speaks to all these criminals and, says, please let me help you, because he doesn't want them to become, monsters. And he wants to save people, even if they've done bad things. and that's what made his Batman have such an impact on me. And that's why one of the reasons why I love his Batman was because in some of the Batman films, especially the live action films, that you don't understand the personal side of Batman and Bruce Wayne. And we've only seen that, for me personally, at least in the Batman with Robert Pattinson. You see more of the personal side, and very puts you front and center. But with Batman the animated series, they just did it so well that it really made me care about this character more. And as I said, his voice has just left such a mark in my head. And even though he has unfortunately passed, his legacy, as well as his iconic voice for portraying this character, will live on forever. So I would just like to say personally, Kevin, thank you for everything, and I hope you are resting.
That's so sad, honestly. And it's amazing that he was able to bring such a personal side to Batman.
Yeah.
Sounds like, I mean, I'm not a massive Batman fan personally, but like clearly he made a big impact, and probably to a lot of people. So that is incredibly sad and a huge loss for that community as well.
So now, the big key topic of this episode, as teased earlier from Jess, is that we're going to be talking more about some of our personal favorite films and media that inspire us as aspiring filmmakers, as we would like to just share with you guys how much we love these films and how much of an impact they have on us as creators, because they do inspire us, and hence why we're here today on this podcast talking about it all and everything. So without further ado, Jess, would you like to talk about your film?
Yeah, so I mean, this will probably come as quite a surprise to a lot of people, because when you hear people talk about their inspirations and that, it's usually films and series that were made years and years ago. That's usually the classics. But for me, I mean, up until I think it was this year, unless time's gone ridiculously quickly, my biggest inspiration is now a film called Last Night in Soho, which is a working title. A really, really cleverly executed, incredible movie. I went to watch it with a friend at the cinema, and I didn't move in my seat. I was just transfixed into this film, and I absolutely loved every minute of it. It was everything I probably ever hoped of a film. And the lighting was beautiful, the costume was just absolutely stunning, and the story was such a clever concept, and I just enjoyed watching it. And for my birthday this year, that same friend who took me to the cinema to watch it, hi Adam, that same friend bought me the DVD, so now I can watch it as many times as I want, and I'm so excited. So guess what I did the day before this recording? I went and did a rewatch for the third time of this film, and I enjoyed it just as much as the first time. And oh my god, I can't stop talking about it. And every time I'm talking to friends about film, I will mention Last Night in Soho, and I will make sure they've watched it. I will make sure that I can make them watch it or bring them over to my house and we just watch it. I know my group of friends still haven't seen it, and I really want to do a party. God, it needs to happen. But
It
I
does.
know they'll enjoy it. That's the thing. I know you guys will enjoy it. I know Zavi, you'll enjoy it when you do see it. I'm making you see
Hopefully,
it.
yes, indeed, indeed. Well, I guess we have to make a pact. You watch. I watched Last Night in Soho. You watch The Batman. There you
Yes,
go.
I
That's our
so want to
pact.
watch it. No, I will. I will. I definitely will. But yeah,
Amazing.
very passionate about this film. I have to say, I actually when I watched it last night, I picked out my little favorites so that I could actually talk about it a bit more.
Mm.
So then, yeah. So I have to say, my favorite scene of the whole movie was the first bedroom scene, and I know it's quite kind of, I guess it's quite a dragged out scene of all of the scenes. I guess it's one of the quite dragged out ones, but the lighting and the shots that they use to convey the story just really do make up for the fact it's quite a long scene. You've got the red and the blue lighting of the flashing sign outside the main character's window, and it's just absolutely stunning. And then they use that lighting throughout the whole film, so it's a constant theme, but it's used in very different ways each time. So it's so nice. It's so beautiful, and yeah, it's basically a point in the story when the main character goes from her reality into this kind of dream sequence, and then through the film, dream and reality kind of collide in a way, and it seeps through. And it's kind of similar to a film I worked on recently, actually, the weekend before this podcast episode is being recorded. I worked on a film for my university course, and it's kind of, I guess, also another film that sort of inspired me to support the film and make it what it is, which I'll be talking about a bit later. But yeah, this film, Last Night in Soho, is just, I don't know, it's so elegant as a film, so beautiful, stunning actors. You've got who's in it? Matt Smith
Yeah.
playing one of,
Uh,
go
yeah.
on,
Then you have Anna Taylor Joy.
Anna Taylor Joy. I'm terrible with names. Anna Taylor
Uh,
Joy
mhm.
playing Sandy. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, and then you
Yeah,
have Thomasin Mackenzie. I
yeah,
don't know how to. Yeah,
yeah. So
she was also in Jojo Rabbit, which was also a good film as well.
yes, absolutely stunning human beings right here. It's a really good cast, which actually like links into the stunning visuals, the stunning lighting, the stunning costume. Everything about it is stunning, y'all. Go check it out if you haven't already. But yeah, I'm a very good film. It's basically, to kind of give you a rundown of the whole film. It's about this fashion student that basically is from Cornwall, and she's such a country mouse. That's how she's described in the film. She's a country mouse, very kind of petite and in her own little world, I guess you could say. She makes her own costumes, and the film starts off with her, like, I think she's wearing something, a costume, a dress that she's made, and she's there showing it off in the mirror, and kind of saying different names that she might want to be named when she becomes a famous fashion designer. She's there like, her name's Eloise. She's like Ellie Eloise Turner. And she says these different names while looking in the mirror posing, and it's just such a brilliant scene. But so yeah, that's where kind of the film starts, and it makes you really intrigued as to who this character is. And then she gets a letter from, I think it's UAL or something, fashion school in London. And she ends up going to London. Spoiler alert, she goes to London. I mean, it's not really a spoiler. That's what the
No,
whole
it's in the trailers. It's in the trailers.
exactly. So yeah, she goes to London and she meets these people that she doesn't like and has to move out, and she's got quite an unstable beginning to London. And London, as everyone knows, isn't exactly the safest of places at night. And that's kind of what the whole film is based on, how unsafe London is, pretty much. And it goes into this whole story of her meeting this character Sandy in her dreams. And actually, Sandy is pretty much a visual reference of what Eloise wants to become. And then later in the story, you find out more about Sandy, and that dream bleeds into the present and the reality. And yeah, Eloise basically tries to turn herself into Sandy because she thinks Sandy is beautiful. Sandy is everything she'd ever want to be. And she tries to turn herself into Sandy by dyeing her hair, dressing more smartly, and in a more beautiful way. And the first costume Sandy wears is by far my favorite costume in the whole film. It's such an elegant pink dress with a twinkly collar, and it's so flowy. And she does this turn or spin in one of the dance scenes, and it just looks stunning, beautiful. I said that word too many times. We could have a count of stunning. The amount of times I said it in the corner, but yeah, it's just so, I don't know, mind blowing. You've got to watch it just to kind of feel it. And the music they use, the era they base it in. I mean, it's based in the current time, but the dream sequence is based in another time. I think it's like the 60s or something. I'm not 100% sure. But
I think you are correct, because
yeah.
I remember one shot from the trailer which I really loved was when I believe it was the main character, forgot her name, I know I'm so bad, was getting out of a taxi and was looking at a cinema with the Thunderball poster on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was it's just so good. I can't. There's so many words that could describe this film, but when you want to say it, you're lost for words. Just go watch it if you haven't already. If you get the chance, get the DVD. It is such a brilliant movie. It's so well done, and that is why it's my massive inspiration to everything I do with lighting and with everything, because it's just I don't know. It's just so good. And all the effects they use. I mean, the effects are bloody scary. I'll give you a warning for sure. It's a very, very scary film. The beginning, not scary at all. And then you kind of get further in and it delves into these really creepy tones that are just kind of really terrifying. And then there are these ghosts that are part of the film, and they look like, there's not like a childish ghost that like, yeah, you that's childish and stupid. It's a proper, they're like see-through people basically, and they basically stalk the main character. I won't give you any more information about them, but they stalk the main character Eloise, and it is bloody scary. So I guess just be warned about that. But it's such a good movie. You should go check it out. And if you do go check it out, after hearing me talk about it for so long, please comment down below your opinions on the film. And if you've already seen it, let me know what you think. Let us know what you think, because it's so interesting to hear what other people think too. And if you didn't like it, why didn't you like it? Because that is also very, very interesting. But yeah, Zavi, what inspires you when it comes to filmmaking?
Well, I have a couple, but I have to narrow it down. So the first one is a TV show, and I feel like it's only right for me to talk about this TV show more, because of the unfortunate news of the death of Kevin Conroy, and I'll be talking about Batman the animated series. Now, this show was released or aired in 1992. Has Kevin Conroy voicing Batman, and then one fact that I just like, when I found out who voiced the Joker, it blew my mind. Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker himself, voices the Joker, and I can now say that he definitely has the most iconic Joker voice. The reason why I wanted to talk about this show was because for someone who just loves Batman so much, and for someone who is just so drawn into the lore and the stories and the tones, this show just does so many things well. And on a creative standpoint as well, like for example, this is a hand-drawn animated show, and to make it more gothic like, and to exaggerate the shadows, they actually drew on black paper, which is, a really, which is already cool enough, as well as things that they did. So I loved Gotham City. So Gotham City was an amalgamation of so many different time eras. So you really couldn't tell what place of time this would actually take place in, because you had some massive metropolis-like buildings. Then you had some of the cars that looked more like they're from the 30s. As I mentioned, you have the jazz club, which is, like from the 60s, as well as you have some technology that we still don't even have to this day. And what I loved as well about this show was that even though this show is for children and was, a children's show that aired on Cartoon Network, they had some really dark psychological episodes, talking about identity, as well as the psychology of Batman, which was so interesting because they take so many elements like from different genres of films. I love it how the crime element, specifically when it comes to Mark Hamill's Joker, specifically in Batman Mask of the Phantasm, he reminds me of a 1930s gangster. He reminds me of, he's wearing the fedora and everything and the trench coat, as well as you have some elements that, with Scarecrow specifically, which I really love, have some dark scenes. Off the top of my head, you have Nothing to Fear. So you have Batman who literally sees his own father, Thomas Wayne, telling him he's a disappointment, he's a disgrace. And it really just humanizes Batman because, and it just humanizes everything, to be completely honest with you, because then even with the villains, some of the episodes, for example, Heart of Ice, which is just immaculate. It's a story about Mr. Freeze, and he has such a sad, sympathetic story. And that episode did so well establishing his character, his motivations, as well as Batman's humanity in this show really just stands out to me. And it also takes a lot of different like more inspirations. It definitely has some it takes some inspirations from the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is like very much like a German expressionist film. So when he has some dreams, like as I said, like some of these dreams are they're quite dark when it comes just to the tone, because some of the scenes, like when I see you have Batman falling and he's falling to Scarecrow's mouth, it reminds me very much of the scene in Get Out when he's falling through the water. It's very interesting, and that's what I just love so much about this show. Was just how they handle Batman so well. Even though I know it's animation, some of the cinematography or just some of the shots chosen are so well executed, because as I said, with some of the dream sequences, you have some really you have like some Dutch tilts, as well as you have some shots that are just make you feel really claustrophobic and makes you feel trapped in an environment. I also love how it just really fits you into the world with some of the architecture, as well as some of the shots are very distorted. And when the meaning behind some of the shots is just really powerful. And there's some, like at the top of my head, that I love. You have one when Joker's wearing a stray jacket in his cell, and it pans up, and then you have the bars are really high up, and you have the night sky coming through, and it's just really cool because he's just laughing his head off. And the architecture as well, so simplistic, but it really puts you into another world. And just some of the episodes, like as I've mentioned, some of my favorites include we have the laughing fish. I mean, was it Joker's laughing fish? You then have Joker's Favor as well. Like there's so many like unique stories. Like Joker's Favor is literally that some normal bystander literally curses at the Joker, not realizing it, and he's in debt with the Joker. Like it's just like fun, unique stories like that that are just really, just, just, just really fun. To be completely honest with you, and um, like there's just so many things that intrigue me with this show and that inspire me, and just gives me a completely different view on Batman as a character and as a whole. And again, as I said, Kevin was a big part of that, and Batman the Animated Series is by far one of the best Batman pieces of media that you can engulf yourself in. So if you haven't seen Batman the Animated Series, I highly recommend it. It's just an amazing show. But if you have watched it, please let us know in the comment section down below, because I'll be very interested to hear your thoughts and opinions. Now, I know that was an animated show, so if someone had to ask me what was a physical, actual filmed film that inspired me, and I'm going to be talking about Her, which was released in 2013, directed by none other than Spike Jonze. This film is a romance sci-fi. I know you never really see. I mean, I've never seen two of those genres formed in one. I was very intrigued when I saw that, and when I saw this film, I was just blown away. The film is set in the not too distant future, so it's not like sci-fi. It's literally just taking place, in like we're saying around 5-10 years time. And we have Joaquin Phoenix starring in the film, and his character's named Theodore. And now this is when I've started to watch some of Joaquin's work. So I watched him in Joker, which I think he was phenomenal in that, as well as I was lucky enough to watch Gladiator in cinema, because they were re-showing it in cinema, and his role in Gladiator was just, again, and his performance was just amazing. So when I saw this film in HMV for a good price, I had to pick it up. And this film just blows me away when it comes to the story. So the story is very much about, love, and it's about, I don't know, it's more about, personal struggles. And the cinematography in this film is just truly mind blowing, to say the least. I think they filmed a little bit in Tokyo and they mixed it with Chicago. So they built this really lovely futuristic kind of world that I could see could be the case in the next 5-10 years when it comes to architecture and things. And the colors in this film are just so beautiful. I mean, Theodore, the character, I think that like he works in this office, and in that office they have so many different, tinted glass pieces of architecture, and it's just such an amazing creative environment. And then there's just so many shots that just shows you how alone and how isolated he can be. And the film really just does such an amazing job about making you invested into the storyline, because I don't want to really spoil it, but what happens in the film is that he falls in love with this android, voiced by none other than Scarlett Johansson, who plays the voice of Samantha. And it's a really unique concept, because even in the modern day, even currently, you do have people who they can fall in love with objects, and voices, and Alexas and Siris. And it was just such a lovely film. There's a great song in there as well, and I think some of the editing and just some of the shots, the different types of lenses and everything that was used was amazing, as well as the depth of field and just everything. It's just a really personal story that I think many can take away when it comes to some pieces of advice, you know, and as a filmmaker, I love cinematography, and that's one of the elements I would love to, one of the elements I'm interested in pursuing a career in. And I have to say that this film in itself has inspired me. It definitely had a big impact on one of my short films I did at college, especially when it came to that visual look. And yeah, I really can't praise this film as much, you know, as I currently am. But yeah, it is. If you guys are interested in watching it, it's on Amazon Prime, but you have to rent it, I think, for £2, which isn't too bad. But to be honest with you, I think it's highly worth it. It's one of my favorite films of all time, and again, I would arguably say it's one of the best shot and visual films of all time. So if you guys have watched the film, please let me know your comment section. You know, let me know your comments and, you know, thoughts and opinions on the film down below, as well as if you haven't seen the film, are you now interested in watching it? And yeah, that's what I have to say about her.
Yeah, it sounds like a really good film. Jeez, I probably should watch that. I feel like it's one of the films that I was meant to watch. I just never watched it and never heard of it. So I've missed out. Damn. And so have you guys. If you haven't watched it before, you've missed out clearly. I think if a film has really good cinematography, it really does make the film. Like
Oh,
it's a
it
make or
does.
break thing. Like, damn. It's so like so clearly sounds like it's so good, and it was really good in the Banshees, and the same in Last Night in Soho. Such
Yeah,
good cinematography, like damn, very cool. And cinematography personally isn't something I want to go into because I'm not a very technical person, and um yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm interested in it in a general sense, but not in like the little nitty-gritty technical ways.
of course.
I probably won't become a cinematographer as such, but I'm really interested in becoming a director or something like that along those lines. And so I'm in a uni course at the moment, and a film production course. It's a BA honours degree, and it's a really good one, very practical, really nice. I love it. And I've so far all I've done is directing as my specialism. And we've just, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, I've just come out of doing a shoot for my first film of the second year. So that was kind of scary because the second year has obviously stepped it up a bit from the first, and it's a lot more professional. And this time I wasn't in the role of a director. So that was another interesting experience. And I was the assistant director instead and the co-producer as well. So I did the co-producer role in pre-production, and then when it moved into production, and we did the shoot, I became more of the assistant director. Of course, I still did some of the assistant director roles in pre-production, so that's making the schedule, making the shooting schedule, making the call sheets, making the script breakdown, and breaking down the whole script into props, costumes, sounds, lighting, set design, things like that, just breaking it down completely. And I really actually enjoyed doing that. That was one of the weird things that I enjoyed doing, because I got to get out all my highlighters again for the first time in a very long time. And I highlighted the script and highlighted each thing in different colours. So I had props in purple and things like that. And I somehow enjoyed that. Don't ask me how, but I enjoyed it and it was great. And then when we moved into production and did the shoot, it made me a lot more organised. And I basically had to be almost in charge of the whole shoot. I had to organise everyone, make sure everyone was doing their job properly, make sure everyone was happy, make teas and coffees, make sure the shoot was running smoothly. And actually, it ran fairly smooth. Was the odd thing that delayed us slightly. So on the first day, our main actress, Emma, was her train was delayed and she was coming from London. So yeah, it was a bit annoying, but her train was delayed. It was only by half an hour, luckily. So she came and arrived half an hour late, which luckily didn't make it too bad, and we actually caught up with ourselves. And then we did a unit move on the first day, so we went from one location to the other, and that was really interesting, trying to get everyone to move and move smoothly to that other location, because it was quite a way away. That's about half an hour away by car. And so we had to move all the equipment, only Emma, because there was only one of the actors at that point. And then we all went to the second location, which was an Airbnb, which was quite nice. And just filming in these two locations was so interesting because they were so different. And we obviously used more of the second location than we did the first. And actually, the unit move gave me a chance to just kind of settle in my brain and be like, okay, this is where we're at with things. This is how smoothly it's run so far. And it actually, the first day turned out to be fairly organized, and we got a lot shot, a lot done. The shots looked really, really beautiful. We loved them. We thought it was really, really nice, and the acting was amazing. So Emma, if you're listening, I know I told you about the podcast. If you are listening, hi, thank you so much. Thank you. You were incredible. But yeah, the overall shoot actually went fairly well, and I'm glad I was organized. But by the end of the second day, we were all deliriously tired and barely got any sleep, and our shoot was incredibly long. But yeah, going back to like what we shot some really cool stuff. I can't say too much because we're going to hopefully put it on YouTube. So when it's out, I will let everyone know and put the links in the description and stuff like that, so you guys can go and check it out. Because to be honest, this is the most professional shoot I've ever done. So I'm very, very proud of how it's so far turned out. So I'd love for everybody to go see it when it's out. So yeah, that will probably be on YouTube, and then we're hopefully going to also put it into some film festivals or a film festival, depending on how things go in the edit. But yeah, it's currently in kind of the editing process, so I don't get to touch it, unfortunately. I don't get to share my opinion much. So it's a bit scary, but I mean, I trust the people who have it in their hands, and I trust they'll do a good job because the shots are beautiful. We created some really cool lighting. We had to create some moonlight out through a kitchen window, and it looked perfect. It looked absolutely beautiful. We knew then and there, let's shoot this now, because otherwise we're going to lose that lighting and it's not going to be as good. Like we had to recreate the moon rather than using the actual moon. We used a light outside, and it was really tall, and we were so scared about it falling. But it was fine in the end, and we created a really cool shot to be proud of. And you guys will probably see that in the film when it's out. But yeah, we created some really cool shots, really cool lighting, and one of the films our film was inspired by, our film's called ECSTASY, by the way. It's themed around a young girl who's basically either high on drugs or drunk on alcohol. She's come home from a party and she starts having illusions about a positive lifestyle, when actually the reality is something quite different. That's all I'm going to say, because otherwise I'll reveal too much and spoil it, but that's kind of what it's about. And one of the main inspirations when it comes to other films or series, the main one was Euphoria, which is a series unfortunately I haven't watched, but the director Ria and the I think the production designers had seen it, so at least kind of the main people in the crew have seen it. And I watched the trailer and I watched a few clips, and I'm totally get where it's like kind of being inspired, how it's being inspired. So yeah, we're kind of inspired by the theme of a young girl being the main character, with kind of there's themes of abuse in both, and we kind of, I guess, got inspiration as well from that kind of drug theme and just the way it was shot. And our whole film is in this kind of loop that this character goes in, so things are repeated a fair bit. We did a night, like a lot of night shots because most of it is in nighttime. Also, it kind of, I guess, links to Last Night in Soho as well, with also that loop of the dream sequence, which we have a dream sequence which loops, and so does Last Night in Soho. It's not necessarily a loop though in Last Night in Soho. It's more of a repetitive dream that bleeds into reality, and the bleeding into reality is something that also happens in our film. So yeah, go and check it out when it's out. It will be in the link in the description as soon as it's out. Probably in the next episode of the podcast or the episode after that, but please do check it out because I'm actually really proud of how it's turned out and how all the shots look so far from what I've seen during the shoot, which we were absolutely delirious in, but it's okay. It turned out good. The actors were incredible. So if they're listening, hello guys. Thank you for listening to the podcast after I told you about it. But yeah, no, thank you. Honestly, I think the actors really made our film, and the process was so, I guess, so professionally done, more than I thought it would be. And it was just an incredible experience, the best experience on a film set that I've probably ever had, because it was so professional and so well done by everyone. Like, we were all there for each other. We became a bit of a family towards the end, so delirious that we just laughed at each other. I nearly fell asleep. Well, I did fall asleep on the stairs. So yeah, that was embarrassing when I was kind of needed at that point. So that was awkward. But yeah, it was a good time, and I made some really, really good memories. And I'm so glad that I've been able to be in this course and be in film so far, and create things I love. And I'm so glad there are films out there that have been able to inspire me. So yeah, if you're a budding filmmaker like us, or you're just interested in film generally, do try and like watch different films, watch things from loads of different genres, because then you get kind of an outlook of everything and how everything's filmed differently. Watch documentaries about film, watch documentaries about the crew as well, the different roles, and that just be a sponge. Take in as much information as you can, and allow things to help you to learn. Watch as much as you can. Watch things when they first come out. I've started a review account doing reviews, so then I can kind of keep my knowledge going, and share that knowledge as well, and talk to your friends about films and that, because then you can show that you're passionate, and you never know what that could lead to. You never know who other people know, or what other people know, and what you could learn from other people as well. So yeah, just keep talking to people about film because it's a great thing to talk about. Savvy, do you have any advice to give?
Well, first of all, I want to just say, I mean, before that we recorded this podcast, Jess did tell me the some of the information about her shoot, and I can say I'm very excited, Jess, as a friend and as a filmmaker. I'm very intrigued to see some of the shots and to have a little look at the story. I mean, I've watched someone react to Euphoria because, again, I don't have that subscription, but I can definitely 100% confirm that from what you've told me and what I've seen from Euphoria, that your film does take a lot of inspiration from there. And yeah, I'm very excited to first of all see it. And yeah, very much going off of what you said. I mean, to be honest with you, my film journey started at GCSE. I was lucky enough to take it at GCSE, as I just mentioned. And I remember just as a child, like you, I just watched Star Wars and Marvel. And then over time, my father introduced me to more mature films and different films. And then I remember my film teacher at college, um, mentioned to us for the first lesson, you're going to view film completely different. And he was right. And all I can say is that, as Jess rightfully mentioned, just explore, just watch many different films and TV shows, and anything that just captures your eye. Because, as I said, like for me as a filmmaker, even though if I'm not a big fan of a certain genre, I may use elements of that genre to put into a story that I may like to have on the screen. And that's the important thing, is to be as open-minded as you could possibly be, because at the end of the day, film is art, and many people don't notice that. And that's one thing in the modern day that I kind of felt like, for me as a film fan, I miss the days that I wish I was, and I wish I wasn't born, but I wish I was there to see film posters that were drawn, which was artwork in itself. Because these days you just get classic Photoshop posters, and then you go into the film and it's the whole experience. Like, please, if you have a nearby cinema, go there as much as possible to just watch any film that's on. And I mean any film. I mean, I went to the same college as Jess. We weren't in the same class for both years, which, looking back on it now, is unfortunate. But luckily we know each other today, and hopefully in the future we can make some projects together.
Yeah, sure.
But at our college, it was literally 20-minute walk from the cinema. So I remember a couple of days after I was at college, I would just see what's on. And that's the thing I just love doing, because there's no better experience than just sitting in the cinema, just watching it, phone off, black screen, and then you're just so invested into the story. And as a filmmaker and someone who just loves film so much, you can create so much emotion with one frame. And that's what I find so powerful. And that's what I love. And I would also recommend watch more indie films. If you don't know what indie films are, they're more low budget films from companies that aren't as well known as, Warner Brothers or Disney and, Universal. But I highly recommend just exploring, watch some short films as well. And as just mentioned, if you're going to get Netflix as well as Amazon Prime, look at some of their critically acclaimed films that that could be nominated for an Oscar, because again, that film supposedly is meant to be very good, as it's got a lot of good reviews. And then just watch things that, if you have any hobbies, watch films about your hobbies, if that's a certain topic or a certain sport, because film really does so much, at least to me personally. One of my favorite true story films is called Rush, which came out in 2013. Now, I love sport, but I'm not a massive Formula One fan. But that film was so incredible and just blew my socks off. That is one of my favorite films of all time. I'm not even a fan of Formula One. Like that's what film can do, and that's the beauty and the power. And I would just recommend to just be yourself and to know where you stand and to take as much inspiration as possible. And then if you are looking to go into the film industry for any type of job, keep your creativity going, keep it going at all costs. If that's doing a little edit, or having a little slideshow of some ideas, or blue sky thinking, or starting to write a script or a screenplay, just go for it. Because as Jess mentioned, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know which people know who, and one thing can lead to another. And at the end of the day, literally, it's what you make is your portrait. It's your canvas. You paint whatever you would like to on there, and you create whatever you would like to on there. As film is nothing but pure expression of also us as human beings, because we all have different things we all love. And that's also another thing, is the discussions. Like, you can all have endless discussions with people, and that's what's so amazing. And that's what, as a filmmaker, and that's what keeps me going. So that's what I would say. But again, yeah, I was really well. I'm really happy that me and Jess are talking about this, as like film in education has actually been a very recent course that has been added. So if there's anyone who is younger and who's looking to go into GCSE or college, I would say film studies, first of all. Don't expect it to be nothing but just watching films. It isn't. You learn a lot more than that, and you also watch so many different films. So if you're going to go into the film industry, just be yourself and just be open to everything.
For sure, yeah, definitely. Definitely. That's a very good point, and take that on board, people. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening, guys. You're not watching necessarily. We're not visual. We're not staring at you right now.
We're not visual just yet. Special
Not
face reveal at 10K.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for listening, everybody. Remember to comment your thoughts on everything we've talked about today in the comments, because we're definitely really interested in what you guys think about these films, because it's always nice to learn from everybody's opinion and hear how people take in these films, as I said earlier. So yeah, feel free to comment whatever you think, all your opinions in the comments below. Remember to smash that like button.
Don't forget to subscribe and smash the notification bell so you get notified every time we release a new podcast episode. We also do have our Instagram and our TikTok in the description down below. Go and check those social media profiles out, as well as that. If you guys have any suggestions with any content that you guys would like to see from us, again, please feel free to just let us know.
For sure, definitely. Let us know any content ideas you have. And check out those social medias, because on TikTok we've got some bonus content coming so soon. So
Very exciting.
Go follow it. It's so exciting. Oh my god. Click those links, press follow, check it out. And the notification bell is very important too, as Zavi said. So just do that. Then you'll know exactly when we post, and you can be the first to comment or the first to like it, and we'll know. We'll
exactly. And we will prioritize your comment.